AARP Louisiana is proud to sponsor today's town hall. I'm Bobby Savoy, AARP Louisiana Volunteer State President. Just like many of you across the state, I know what it's like to lose your home to a natural disaster. I know because I experienced it firsthand. I know too the hard work of rebuilding and putting your life back together. And so does AARP Louisiana. That's why we're connecting you with information and resources like today's town hall. AARP Louisiana is also fighting for better emergency planning for residents at nursing homes and independent living centers. Like you, we were outraged by the images of nursing home residents stranded in a warehouse. We're committed to preventing senseless tragedies like this from ever happening again. AARP also believes that Louisiana utility customers are paying far too much in utility rates to sit in darkness for weeks after each storm. It's time we hold utilities companies for stronger accountability measures for the power grid, as well as for improved responses from our state and federal agencies. That's what we do at AARP. You can learn how we do it and get involved at aarp.org/LA.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Kovacs, and I'm the editor of the Times-Picayune and the Advocate. And today we have three officials from FEMA and the SBA who are here to answer questions submitted by you, our readers, about the federal aid programs for people impacted by Hurricane Ida. We appreciate y'all coming here, and I know that some of you are in town from elsewhere and working on the disaster plan. And we really appreciate not only you coming here, but you being in Louisiana. I'm going to start out by asking questions, and then when I ask a question of you, maybe you could introduce yourself also and say a little bit about what you do for the agency and what you're doing in this disaster. And the first question is for Stacy Rushing, and it comes from Roxy of Franklinton. And Roxy says, "Why was I denied for the $500? I was without electricity for 9 days, lost all my food in my refrigerator, and my generator got stolen, and you denied me."
Hi, Peter. So my name is Stacy Rushing. I'm currently a group supervisor that works within individual assistance. I'm deployed from home, sitting here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, here to help survivors with to get assistance for some of the damages that occurred. So to Roxy's question, why was she denied for the $500 when she was without electricity for 9 days, and the fact that she lost all of her food and the generator got stolen? So I think what she's referencing is the critical needs assistance for the $500. And that eligibility is based on the answers one provided when they registered. So what I would like to do is ask Roxy to contact FEMA's helpline. And that number is 1-800-621-3362. And she can call that number to ask those specific questions, and they could be able to provide her some more information. But yeah, some of that was determined on when they registered at the time of RI.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think the next question is for John Mills, and it comes from Mark of Covington. I applied for reimbursement of the cost of a generator and chainsaw I purchased after the storm for obvious reasons. I opened an account with FEMA on their website. I know I did that right because I still had my information from Katrina. I uploaded my receipts along with a summary image page requesting reimbursement. When I checked back on their website last week, all it said was denied with no explanation that I could find. I understand that we're entitled to this reimbursement from FEMA without regard for insurance, etc. What gives?
And I'm John Mills. I'm the External Affairs Officer on FEMA's Incident Management Assistance Team from Region 7. The team is based in Kansas City, and our team was deployed here to Louisiana in advance of Hurricane Ida, and we've been working ever since to help people not only in the New Orleans area, but across all the affected parishes, in particular those from Plaquemines all the way over to Terrebonne and Lafourche and other parishes there. In terms of the chainsaw and generator reimbursement, FEMA works with each household on a case-by-case basis, and that's how we've already been able to provide about $620 million in grants to disaster survivors. And those grants are for basic home repairs, temporary rental assistance, and other needs not covered by insurance. And that can include reimbursement of up to $250 for a chainsaw and up to $800 for a generator. For the chainsaw must have been used to gain access to the home or remove hazards from the home. So either gaining access to your home or removing hazards from your home. The generator must have been purchased during the time of the emergency declaration and beyond the time that Hurricane Ida struck, specifically for power being out in the area. And I also want to defer to Stacy, who's an expert more so than I in the individual assistance program, just to make sure I got all of that right and that I didn't miss anything important.
No, sir, I think you hit all the points. Perfect.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. The next question is for Susheel Kumar, who's with the Small Business Administration, and it comes from Carlos of HOMA. And he says, we've been directed to an SBA loan. We've been directed to an SBA loan. Does one have to have great credit to get it? If so, what are the terms? Is the process long, and what loaning institutions participate? Where do you go apply for an SBA loan? That's a lot of questions. I hope you can remember all of them.
Thank you, Peter. My name is Susheel Kumar. Thanks for the question, Carlos. And the word directed is probably a misnomer. It's more along the lines of referral. Homeowners and renters are referred over to the SBA for the purposes of establishing whether or not they qualify for a Small Business Administration's fixed interest rate loan with interest rates as low as 1.563%. The reason why you're referred over to the SBA is because there are certain conditions that you have to meet before you're referred over to other needs assistance. So if you qualify for $40,000 for personal property or up to $200,000 for your homeowner and personal property loans, the expectation is between FEMA's initial pure sanitary conditions grant and SBA's fixed interest rate disaster loan, the unmet needs by Hurricane Ida are met. So it's a referral. And if Carlos chooses not to move forward, that's his choice. But the recovery process in that case, for those items stipulated by SBA, is a hard stop because there's some things which should stay open on the FEMA side. Now, in terms of great credit, if you pay your bills on time, for the most part, the loan is yours, for the most part. Because as a lender, we're not supposed to say, of course, you're guaranteed. And the maximum amortization repayment term is 30 years. Not everyone qualifies, okay? Interest rates as low as 1.563%, not only for automobiles, which is part of your personal property, and also damages to your home. Last but not least, loaning institutions sounds like the word is very specific to small business. Well, this money comes directly from the Treasury and there is no financial institution involved. So you would apply with us at disasterloanassistance.sba.gov and find out what you qualify for. If you don't qualify for a loan with the SBA, we'll refer you back to FEMA's other needs assistance. And you can apply from the comfort of your home. If you're out in the area, there are quite a few locations, and I'll be glad to send those locations out to you for the benefit of time. Thank you for the question.
So there is no financial institution involved. The money goes from the SBA to the applicant. It doesn't go through a bank.
That's correct. The process you're referring to is a 7A, a 504, where the SBA guarantees the funds and the bank is then, the one that lends out the money. Here, it comes from the Treasury.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think the next question goes back to Stacy, and this comes from Courtney in New Orleans. And Courtney says, I applied for critical needs assistance on 8/31, and my application is still pending. No one can help me when I call. Will decisions ever be made?
Yes, they will. So far, this disaster has accumulated greater than 700,000 registrations. Sometimes a delay in assistance could be attributed to the agency needing additional information from applicants, such as like proof of identity, or maybe one's proof of residency. So what we would like to do is, if Courtney's concerned that she hasn't heard anything in a while, we would like for her to call our FEMA helpline to check the status of her application, just to make sure that nothing that we're waiting on her to submit further information.
What is the status? What's the consumer experience with the helpline? I mean, is it presumably, at least in the initial phases, it's slow to get an answer, or what are wait times like if someone calls that number?
Well, they could be a little more elevated than normal, just simply from the sheer size of the disaster. And that call center takes registrations from all of the states that have disasters ongoing. So a normal wait time would be, an answer service rate of say 5 minutes, but it could be a little elevated. And I mean, you could be waiting for 15 minutes or longer.
Okay.
But another great point, Peter, is that call center went and expanded their hours to 24/7.
Oh, so are there like, if you were an insider, would you know that there's actually a better time to call?
Well, we promote that it's 24/7, just
Yeah.
make
Okay.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. We put a lot of publishing through the media to
Okay.
people
So-
know that it might be a better time to call later in the day or later in the evening.
Oh, okay. So you could wake up in the middle of the night and call and,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right. That's good to know. So this again is for you, and it comes from Archie of Baton Rouge. And he says, the news stated that FEMA was giving $500 for hurricane aid. I needed money to buy food and gas. I was told by a representative I wasn't qualified when I lost power for 6 days, and other people received money without any problem when power was lost for them. The representative states that FEMA can't help with food. Is this true?
So FEMA doesn't pay for food loss. However, the $500 critical needs assistance is available to provide that assistance if an applicant chooses to use that money to go purchase food. It's also to help for their shelter needs or gasoline for their vehicles. So, I mean, initially we don't reimburse for somebody's loss of food, but the $500 is to help provide assistance for that relief.
Okay. And this next question is for John. Why is it taking so long for reimbursement of receipts such as for generators?
I think, Peter, I'd like just to go back to the answer that I provided before. FEMA is working with everyone on a case-by-case basis. Stacy has mentioned the helpline, which for this disaster right now is open 24 hours a day. So you can call FEMA directly to get a status update, to ask those specific questions about your exact situation. And so that's 1-800-621-3362. A lot of people are uploading their receipts to their account that they created at disasterassistance.gov. So disasterassistance.gov is the fastest way to contact FEMA. We have also set up a lot of disaster recovery centers in a number of parishes in coordination with the state and local emergency management. So FEMA online has a disaster recovery center locator. You can look it up. Just Google DRC locator, and then you can find that by state and even by parish. And then you can also download the FEMA app. And once you download it, after you launch the app, it's just 2 clicks, click disaster resources and click talk to FEMA in person. And that will show you a list of all the disaster recovery centers in Louisiana. And you don't have to live in a specific parish. You can visit any of the ones that you choose. In terms of the timing of the reimbursement, it can vary on a case-by-case basis, depending on information that you need to provide in terms of your documentation, proof of need, and proof of occupancy of your home at the time of the disaster. And Stacy, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything there, so I'm going to see if there's anything you'd like to add.
No, sir, I think you got it right. We were going to plug the recovery centers, and you covered that.
That's great. And then just lastly, a lot of money is being very rapidly provided to individual disaster survivors. The money is going to homeowners and renters with serious needs not covered by insurance. By law, FEMA is not allowed to duplicate insurance payments, but we've already been able to provide about $620 million in grants directly to those survivors to help with their short-term housing needs, whether that's a homeowner making basic home repairs, or whether it's helping someone with some rental assistance so they can relocate temporarily. And right now we have more than 8,000 households who've been displaced from their homes, staying in hotels, and FEMA's paying those hotels directly. So that's the type of assistance that's been provided very rapidly. And we're also working with folks on these reimbursements for chainsaws and generators on a case-by-case basis.
Peter, this would be a good opportunity for me to chime in also, that wherever FEMA has a location, the Small Business Administration has folks also housed at the temporary DRCs, so that when an applicant is referred over to the SBA, they can walk across the hall and fill out their application. So wherever there is a FEMA site, for the most part, there's an SBA site. We have 12 temporary disaster recovery centers that we're a part of.
Okay, well, that's good to know. If I could go back to John, I think this is a John question. Is it true that if you fill out the application online and it asks you whether you have insurance, if you do have insurance, does that make you ineligible for FEMA aid, at least until you sort out whether your insurance was going to pay you?
So Peter, by law, FEMA is not allowed to duplicate insurance payments.
Mhm.
So what we're asking people to do, and based on data we're receiving from survivors, more than 300,000 households who have applied for disaster assistance with FEMA are telling us they are covered by insurance. By law, FEMA is not allowed to duplicate insurance payments. So what we're encouraging people to do is, after your insurance company processes your claim, get it in writing, provide that insurance letter, that insurance documentation to FEMA. You can upload it to disasterassistance.gov. You can read your FEMA letter carefully. It'll tell you how you can even fax it in or bring it to one of the disaster recovery centers. If you have serious needs not covered by insurance, you may be eligible for grant money from FEMA that you would not have to repay for basic home repairs, temporary rental assistance, and other needs. But your insurance is really your first line of defense. And that's why FEMA is asking you to provide your insurance documentation so FEMA can make a determination about what you may be eligible to receive. You may also be referred to the Small Business Administration, SBA, for a disaster loan. And that's the part that Susheel has a lot of information about.
Thank you, John. Peter, what I'd like to jump in and state is, if you are underinsured or uninsured, our program will cover the needs of the many. So business owners, for the most part, most private nonprofits, all homeowners and all renters are covered under our program. So basically, if you have insurance and you're waiting for the check to come in the mail and you apply with the SBA, we can temporarily fund the difference between what the insurance company is paying you and any deductibles. Deductibles is our bread and butter. In some cases, because of municipal compliance codes that come online as a result of new building, we could cover those costs of those permits also. So apply with us. We have lent so far $194 million, helped out close to 4,278 homeowners, business owners, private nonprofits, and renters. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. This question, I think, goes back to Stacy, and it comes from Cyrus of Slidell. And he says, insurance will not address evacuation lodging costs because it was not an emergency evacuation. I think he means a mandatory evacuation. FEMA says they can't cover it because I have insurance. So who's going to cover it?
So FEMA may be able to help provide out-of-pocket lodging expenses that are not covered by insurance benefits, such as, what we call ALE, additional living expenses, or loss of use. The survivor's pre-disaster primary residence, however, must be unlivable, inaccessible, or affected by an extended disaster-caused utility outage in order to be considered. So FEMA cannot duplicate benefits with insurance. Insurance policies may include ALE or loss of use, which is a benefit that they provide supplemental money to cover those increased costs, including temporary housing, when they're unable to live in their home due to the loss caused covered by insurance. So lodging expenses from FEMA may only be considered if an applicant has not received lodging assistance from any other source for the same dates that the applicant is requesting that reimbursement expense.
Okay, Fred of Metairie asks a similar question with a twist. And that is, State Farm will not pay my additional living expenses claim for evacuation expenses. FEMA originally denied my claim because they said I have insurance. How can I file with FEMA since the insurer will not cover it? And as you know, State Farm, which is, I think, has the largest market share, at least in Louisiana, has said that it will not pay evacuation expenses. And I guess they're in a dispute with the insurance commissioner, but right now they're not paying it. And so if you have State Farm, does that erase the I have insurance problem in the eyes of FEMA?
No, it doesn't. And I heard that the state was working with the insurance commission. But so FEMA may be able to award lodging expense reimbursement from the start of the incident date, which for Hurricane Ida is August 26th. So applicants should upload or submit. They can do it via fax, mail. They should submit their insurance denial letter that State Farm gives them, which will explain that they don't cover those expenses. And then once FEMA receives that, we will do a review.
Okay. This is also, I think, for you, and comes from Edward of New Orleans. And he says, are homeless people eligible for assistance?
Okay, so FEMA doesn't provide housing assistance, which is, rental assistance or home repair or home replacement assistance to applicants who experience homelessness because of the need for housing that was not caused by the disaster. However, applicants experiencing homelessness pre-disaster may be eligible for, things like certain types of assistance, like other needs assistance, which would be personal property assistance, maybe transportation assistance, medical, dental, or funeral assistance, and childcare. So whereas they might not be eligible for housing assistance because they were homeless prior to the disaster, there's a potential that they could be eligible for other needs assistance. So we do recommend that they apply.
Okay. One last for you, and then we'll go to some for John, I think. This comes from Liz in New Orleans, and she says, is there an income limitation on assistance for individuals or households? Like, can millionaires get assistance?
They can. So there are types of ONA that are divided into two categories that are either dependent or non-dependent on an applicant's ability to secure small business administration disaster loan. And I know Susheel will have some information on this as well. So the SBA may be able to provide a low interest loan to help applicants with transportation losses, as well as they also help with repair or replacement for their homes and personal property damage that's caused by the disaster. Only applicants who do not qualify for a loan from the SBA may be eligible for assistance for dependent categories such as personal property or transportation. We do have non-dependent SBA or non-dependent types of categories with the SBA. These are other needs assistance, and they could be rewarded regardless of one's SBA status. And that would include funeral assistance, medical, dental, child care, moving and storage assistance, the critical needs assistance, and cleaning removal assistance.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Let's go to John. And this question comes from Cynthia in Marrero. Will FEMA help homeowners that have homeowners insurance? Will FEMA help them with their deductible?
Thanks, Peter. So FEMA does not pay insurance deductibles. Your insurance is your first line of defense. With that said, FEMA is helping disaster survivors on a case-by-case basis for serious needs not covered by insurance. So after your insurance company processes your claim, get it in writing, provide your insurance information to FEMA, and FEMA will consider you for grant money for serious needs not covered by insurance for basic home repairs, temporary rental assistance, and other needs.
Okay. This question, which I think is also for you, it comes from Katie in New Orleans. I don't understand why my application was denied simply because I indicated that I have homeowners insurance. My family's incurred large expenses to evacuate post-storm, and by the time we got a response from FEMA that we were eligible for a hotel, we already had to pay up front for one in order to reduce the cost of our family as much as possible. I understand that the amount you may be able to provide to people varies, but for us to just not receive any assistance whatsoever is frustrating and lacks transparency.
So your insurance is your first line of defense, and I would encourage people to stay in close contact with their insurance company and let their insurance providers know what their specific needs are. Save all of your receipts, make a list of everything you're spending money on and everything you're doing for you and your family. You can also provide that information to FEMA, and we'll work with you on a case-by-case basis, depending on your exact situation. So please stay in touch with us and your insurance company about those needs. I think at the end of the day, with more than 300,000 households who've applied with FEMA telling us they're covered by insurance, there's a really big insurance story in Louisiana, and FEMA is going to do its part to help people with serious needs that insurance is not covering. But I did want to see if Stacy has additional on that, because she's more of an expert on the individual assistance program, but I think I got that correct.
You did, John. You got it.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you. John, this one I think also is for you, and it's from Kevin in New Orleans. I live in a 9-unit condo building and share a roof with the other owners. The roof was damaged during the storm, and it is unlikely that the cost to replace it will exceed our hurricane deductible. Are we eligible for financial assistance from FEMA, and is there an income limitation on assistance through individuals and households? Which I know someone else asked that same last question.
This starts to get into complicated territory for me personally, but residents of the condo should apply with FEMA if they have serious needs not covered by insurance. Fastest way is at disasterassistance.gov. You can also call FEMA directly at 800-621-3362. Let FEMA know the exact situation. As individual owners of condos, the other members of the condo association would not be able to find out what you yourself may receive in the form of grant money from FEMA. Depending on the structure of your homeowners association or condo association, there may be various forms of assistance there. And for more about that, I'm going to toss it to Stacy, and then Susheel with SBA may have more information about that. Sorry about putting you on the spot, Stacy and Susheel, but we run into that in different parts of the country, and I value your expertise on this.
No problem. I'll take it. So with condos, they have that townhouse master policy for condo owners, which usually that condo's insurance is going to cover everything from, I want to say it's from the outside, like inside out. Whereas FEMA would help with everything from the walls in. So when the applicant needs to go ahead and submit that information, and we will ask for a copy of that that master policy for that condo. But whereas their assistance is going to be for anything from the walls on the inside, and it could also pay for something if they had their own individual HVAC system, air conditioning unit that they're actually responsible for, and it's not a part of the larger condo policy. So we would have to, it's case by case, and we would have to work through that, but they will need to submit their documents in order for us to make that review. And what we'll do is we'll send out an inspection to see what those unmet needs are.
Okay, and Susheel, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Condo associations is our bread and butter in terms of assisting folks. And again, the same parameters that Stacy and John mentioned, case by case basis. Look at the policy, see what's covered, see what's not covered, but please keep in touch with us. Apply with us if you're referred over to the SBA. Our role is to make sure that the repairs, recovery, rehabilitation of a homeowner, whether it be a condo or an SFR or a duplex or whatever else happens to be, return it back to its original condition. In other words, pre-disaster condition is our basic mindset. So please check with us and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Two very quick ones for Stacy. One is from Rajanik of New Orleans. It says, why can't you go back in if something was put incorrect on your application? I assume it's like a submitted online application and they want to revise it, is that allowed?
There is. So the application even online allows for some updates. You know, an applicant can go online and update their current location, update their telephone numbers, their mailing addresses. So I would just recommend that anything that she's interested in making sure that's up to date or correct, to call FEMA's helpline. We have people standing by that can help her with that.
Okay, and this comes from D of New Orleans, who says, my housemate, separate household, submitted a FEMA claim. When I tried to submit my own claim, the FEMA website blocked me because it said my household had already filed a claim. I remember this happened a lot in Katrina, you know, when New Orleans has a lot of doubles. And so it happened to a lot of people. How do I fix this?
Well, it should have allowed. So the system allows for applications within, you know, the same address, because there's multiple occupants within a home, and they could also be eligible for potentially for their own personal property assistance. So I'm not so sure if it blocked it in its entirety or if it just kind of made like a pop-up that said, are you aware that somebody else has already submitted an application? But it should allow you to push past that screen to complete your own individual application. However, the system will, you know, provide a link to each other, letting the reviewers know that there's multiple applications within that one household, so that, you know, we don't want to duplicate anyone's benefits and create an overpayment within the system. But so we do have separated households, which we did see a lot in Katrina. FEMA can provide rental assistance and or lodging expenses reimbursement to members of a family or a household who were separated during a disaster through no fault of their own, such as those who were evacuated to different locations. Once the separated household members reunite, any eligible continued assistance, such as, you know, continued housing assistance, will continue to be available under the head of households application to ensure that no duplication of benefits arise. Rental assistance provided to the previous separated household members will cease to ensure no duplication of benefits. Generally, FEMA provides all eligible individuals and households programs award under the head of households application to assist all of the members of the household.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're down to our last question from Brenda of New Orleans, and it is for Susheel. And Brenda says, why should I file for an SBA loan when I have no business?
It's because under a presidential disaster, homeowners and renters are assisted with loans for homeowners and renters. Those are uninsured and underinsured, and that's where the system was set up. In other words, normal case, small business would not be involved in the day-to-day makings of a homeowner or renter, but specifically in a presidential disaster, we are very much involved in making sure that we return those individuals back to their pre-disaster conditions in the absence of insurance or shortage of insurance.
Okay, so people perhaps think of the SBA as only related to businesses, but over time, maybe it was started that way and it evolved.
You know, without going into the history lesson for the sake of time, I would say that as long as I've been involved, it's always been all the way back to Katrina and then before. It was always for underinsured and uninsured, for homeowners, renters, business owners, most private nonprofits not covered by FEMA, including places of worship. So I spent a lot of time letting folks know, don't let the word small business get in the way of your understanding. Please make sure you apply, because if you don't apply, those conditions that FEMA wants SBA to satisfy and you don't apply for it, like Stacy mentioned, it's a hard stop, and we don't want that to be the case. And one last thing, when long-term recovery is established finally, the very first question every long-term recovery participant asks is, did you apply for the SBA for low interest loan? And if the answer is no, it's a hard stop there too. So find out what you qualify for, get turned down, be referred over to FEMA's other needs assistance, and let the recovery process continue.
Okay, well, thank you, Susheel and John and Stacy. Y'all have been great sports answering all these questions, and we appreciate all the people who sent in questions. I think there were probably 70 or 80 questions, and we wish everyone, you know, good luck as they in their personal recovery and Louisiana's recovery in general. and we appreciate everything y'all are doing to help us in that. And I guess I wanted to thank AARP for their sponsorship of this event. And